All right, so let's dive into something that might make you a little uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
The relationship between you and your phone.
Okay.
And yes, I'm talking about your phone specifically.
Yeah.
Because chances are you're part of that statistic.
Hmm?
The one that says the average person touches their phone
Wow.
over 2,600 times a day.
It's a fascinating and slightly unsettling fact, isn't it?
It is.
We live in a world where these devices have become almost like extensions of ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it turns out those seemingly harmless taps and swipes
All right.
might be having a bigger impact on our brains than we realize.
Yeah.
Today, we're going deep into how technology is rewiring our minds,
I like this.
for better or worse.
You know, one of the things that's really struck me
Okay.
is this.
Yeah.
The internet and smartphones are incredibly powerful tools, but it's almost like we were handed them without any instructions.
Wow.
Like giving a toddler a flamethrower.
Ooh, I like that analogy. Powerful, but potentially dangerous if not handled with care.
For sure, for sure.
So when did things start to go sideways?
Well, social media platforms were really the turning point.
Oh.
Think back to the early days of Facebook and MySpace.
Yeah, way back.
They tapped into our very human need for connection,
Right.
but they also figured out something else.
What's that?
That addiction equals profit.
The like button.
Yeah,
That was the game changer, wasn't it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
That seemingly innocuous little feature
Right.
was a stroke of genius,
Yeah.
at least from a business perspective.
For sure.
It created this feedback loop
Right.
where we crave those little dopamine hits,
Uh-huh.
those virtual pats on the back.
So are we all just lab rats pressing a lever for a pellet of digital validation?
It's a bit more nuanced than that,
Okay.
but the comparison isn't entirely off base.
Okay.
The real issue is that the product being sold isn't the platform itself,
Right.
but our attention. Your attention is what advertisers are paying for.
Okay, so let's break this down.
All right.
So the more time we spend scrolling,
Yeah.
the more data they collect,
Uh-huh.
the more targeted ads they can deliver, and the more money they make.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that leads to an arms race to make these apps as addictive as possible.
Wow.
The problem is our brains simply weren't built to handle this constant barrage of information. We're consuming an average of 74 gigabytes of data a day,
It's a lot.
which is like watching 16 movies.
No wonder I feel mentally exhausted by lunchtime.
Nah.
But it's not just the volume of information, is it?
You're right.
There's also the issue of misinformation running rampant.
That's right.
Yeah.
Studies have shown that fake news spreads
Yeah.
6 times faster than real news.
Oh, wow.
And the reason for that might surprise you.
Oh, do tell. Why is that?
It's not that we're all gullible.
Okay.
Our brains are actually wired to prioritize information that triggers strong emotions. And unfortunately, fake news often relies on sensationalized headlines and fear-mongering tactics that grab our attention.
So even if we think we're being discerning, our brains are kind of working against us.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
It's not our fault.
Yeah.
It's just how our brains have evolved to process information.
Right.
We're primed to respond to threats and emotionally charged content, even if it's not accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this brings us to another fascinating piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
The role of dopamine in all of this.
I like it.
Tell me more about that molecule of desire.
Well, every time you get a notification, a like, or a message, your brain gets a little hit of dopamine.
Wow.
Which is the same neurochemical associated with pleasure and reward. And this feeling, this anticipation of a reward, is what keeps us coming back for more. It's a cycle that can be hard to break.
It's basically like a digital slot machine.
Yeah.
You keep pulling the lever, hoping for that next dopamine hit of a notification or a viral post.
That's a great analogy. It's called variable rewards.
Okay.
And it's one of the most powerful psychological mechanisms driving our addiction to technology.
Really?
You never know when you're going to get that next hit. You keep checking, keep refreshing.
And then there's the whole TikTok effect to contend with.
Oh.
I feel like my attention span has shrunk to the size of a goldfish.
That's not just your imagination.
Really?
Consuming bite-sized content for hours on end actually trains your brain to expect instant gratification and short bursts of information.
So it's really happening.
Studies have shown that just 15 minutes of scrolling through social media can impair our memory recall.
So it's not just that we're wasting time, we're actually harming our cognitive abilities.
Unfortunately, yes.
Wow.
We're losing our ability to focus, to think deeply, to engage with complex ideas. And the platforms are designed to keep us in this state of distracted engagement.
Here's a statistic that really blew my mind.
Okay.
70% of people admit to sharing articles online without even reading them.
What's fascinating here is that this reveals how platforms prioritize engagement metrics over genuine understanding.
Okay.
The more we share, the more content spreads, regardless of its accuracy.
Wow.
It creates the perfect breeding ground for misinformation.
So we're all contributing to the problem?
Yeah.
Even if we don't realize it. Now, you mentioned another sneaky trick these platforms use. The paradox of choice. What exactly is that?
Well, think about the last time you spent hours scrolling through Netflix trying to find something to watch.
I know exactly what you mean.
You're bombarded with endless options. Yet you end up feeling paralyzed and dissatisfied.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
It's like my brain short circuits from information overload. I usually end up watching the same show I've seen 100 times because it feels safe.
That's the paradox of choice in action.
Really?
When we're overwhelmed with choices, it leads to decision fatigue, anxiety, and ultimately less satisfaction.
So even though we have more choices than ever before, we're actually less happy.
It's a complex issue, but yes.
Wow.
Studies have shown that this constant bombardment of choices can have negative consequences for our mental well-being.
It is kind of depressing.
It is.
And unfortunately, kids are especially vulnerable to this.
That's right.
You're right. Kids these days are spending an average of 7 hours a day.
It's a lot of time.
On their phones.
Wow.
That's more time than they spend sleeping.
And the consequences are alarming. Studies have linked excessive screen time to increased rates of depression, anxiety, and even suicidal thoughts.
That's terrible.
Particularly among teenage girls.
It's really sad.
It's a public health crisis in the making.
Wow, this is heavy stuff.
It is.
But it feels important to understand the scope of the problem.
Absolutely.
Before we can start talking about solutions.
Yeah.
We've uncovered some dark truths about how technology is impacting our brains. But I have to believe there's hope.
There is. There is.
What can we do to reclaim our minds from the clutches of these tech giants?
Absolutely. There's hope.
Okay.
We're not powerless in this situation.
Should.
And we don't have to become Luddites.
Right.
And ditch all technology.
Right.
It's about making conscious choices.
Okay.
And implementing strategies to regain control.
Okay, I'm all ears.
All right.
What are some of those strategies?
Well, one simple but effective technique is called the 20-second rule.
The 20-second rule?
Yes.
What's that all about?
It's all about adding friction to your phone use by creating a 20-second delay. Like keeping your phone in another room or putting it in a drawer.
Right.
You interrupt that instant gratification loop.
So instead of mindlessly reaching for my phone every 5 seconds,
Yeah.
I have to make a conscious effort to get up and retrieve it.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like breaking a bad habit.
Exactly.
And speaking of breaking habits,
Yes.
have you ever considered an app detox?
I have.
An app detox? That sounds intriguing.
It is.
What does that entail?
It's exactly what it sounds like, a cleanse for your phone.
Right.
Even deleting social media apps for just a week can help reset your brain's dopamine cycle
Early.
and break free from those addictive patterns.
A week without Instagram.
Yeah.
I'll admit that sounds terrifying and liberating at the same time.
It can be.
But you're saying it can actually rewire my brain.
It can make a significant difference.
Wow.
You might be surprised by how much calmer and more focused you feel after just a few days.
I'll have to try it.
And here's another hack that's surprisingly effective.
Okay.
Switching your phone to grayscale.
Grayscale? Like making everything black and white. What's the point of that?
It might sound strange, but it actually reduces the visual stimuli that make those apps so appealing.
I could see that.
All those bright colors and flashing notifications are designed to trigger your dopamine receptors. By eliminating the color, you essentially remove the reward.
Wow, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
It's like going from a gourmet buffet to a plate of plain rice cakes.
That's a perfect way to put it.
So it's all about making my phone less tempting.
Exact.
Less stimulating.
I like it.
Good.
What other gems do you have for us?
Well, just like you're mindful of what you eat. It's important to curate your digital diet.
Curate my digital diet. I love that.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
It means being selective about the content you consume online.
Okay.
Unfollow accounts that make you feel bad.
Okay.
Follow accounts that inspire or educate you. And seek out information from reliable sources. It's about choosing quality over quantity.
Yep.
Just like with food.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
It does.
But how do I combat the misinformation overload?
That's a valid concern.
It feels like I'm constantly bombarded with fake news and conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
It's tough.
The key is to develop your critical thinking skills and to remember that emotions can be manipulated online.
Right.
Before you share anything, fact check it.
Yep.
There are great resources like Snopes and factcheck.org
I've heard of those.
that can help you verify information.
So I need to be more skeptical,
Uh-huh.
less trusting of everything I see online, especially if it triggers a strong emotional response in me.
Exactly. And if something seems too good to be true or too outrageous to believe, it probably is.
Okay, so far we've got the 20-second rule,
Yep.
app detox,
Uh-huh.
grayscale mode, curating my digital diet,
Yeah.
and fact-checking everything.
Good.
I'm already feeling more empowered.
I like.
But is it really possible to disconnect from technology completely?
Wow.
Because honestly, the thought of giving up my phone for even a day
I understand.
makes me feel a little panicky.
But you don't have to go off the grid completely.
Okay.
One practice that's gaining popularity is the digital Sabbath.
A digital Sabbath. Okay, I'm intrigued.
All right.
Tell me more about this.
It's about taking one day a week
Okay.
to completely unplug from all digital devices.
Whoa, a whole day without my phone.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can handle that.
It might seem daunting, but trust me, it's worth it.
Okay.
Studies have shown that even one day of digital detox can have significant benefits for your mood focus
Wow.
and even sleep quality.
So it's like giving my brain a much-needed vacation.
Exactly.
But are there any hard numbers to back up these claims?
Absolutely.
Okay.
A 2018 study found that people who quit social media for just 1 week experienced a 33% reduction in depression
Wow.
and a 22% increase in productivity.
Wow, a 33% reduction in depression. That's pretty impressive.
It is.
So taking a break from technology can actually make us happier and more productive.
Precisely. You'll be amazed by how much you can accomplish and how much more present you feel when you're not constantly tethered to your devices.
Okay, you've convinced me.
Right?
I need to start incorporating some of these strategies into my life.
Good.
Like yesterday.
Yeah.
But it's a little overwhelming to think about changing all my habits at once.
I understand.
Where should I even begin?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
Start with one small, manageable change.
Small steps, got it.
Yeah.
Like maybe trying that grayscale trick for a day.
Uh-huh.
Or deleting one social media app for a week.
Exactly.
Okay.
You don't have to do everything at once.
Right.
Just pick one thing and commit to it.
Okay.
And remember, the goal isn't to become a technophobe.
Right.
It's about using technology in a way that serves you,
Mm-hmm.
not controls you.
That's a great way to put it.
Thanks.
Technology can be an amazing tool,
It can be.
but we need to be mindful of how we use it.
For sure.
We have the power to choose how we engage with technology.
That's right.
And that's empowering.
It is.
This has been an incredibly eye-opening conversation.
Yes.
I'm feeling inspired to start making some changes and taking back control of my digital life.
I like it.
But before we move on,
Okay.
I want to ask you this.
Right.
If someone is listening to this and feeling completely overwhelmed, what's one simple action they can take today to start reclaiming your mind?
That's a great question.
Thanks.
I think the most important thing
Okay.
is to start by becoming aware of your own habits. Pay attention to how much time you spend on your phone,
Okay.
what apps you use the most, and how they make you feel. Once you have a better understanding of your own patterns, you can start to make more conscious choices about how you engage with technology.
That's such great advice.
Thanks.
So before you reach for your phone mindlessly,
Yeah.
take a moment to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, do I really need to check this right now? Or am I just trying to fill a void?
Exactly. It's all about becoming more mindful and intentional in our relationship with technology.
This has been such a fantastic deep dive so far.
It has been.
We've covered so much ground, but there's still so much to explore.
I know.
We're just getting started.
Yes. And in the next part,
Okay.
we'll delve even deeper into the impact of technology on our relationships and overall well-being.
Stay tuned, listeners.
Please do.
Things are about to get even more interesting.
It will be. Welcome back to our deep dive into technology's impact on our brains.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier.
Oh.
The feeling of being constantly connected,
Right.
yet somehow more disconnected than ever.
It's a real paradox, isn't it?
It is.
We have access to more people than ever before.
Right.
Yet loneliness and isolation are on the rise.
Yeah.
What's the connection there?
Well, one thing that comes to mind
Okay.
is the quality of those connections.
Okay.
It's easy to mistake virtual interactions
Mm-hmm.
for genuine human connection.
Right.
But the truth is nothing can replace
Right.
the richness of face-to-face interactions.
You know, you're right.
Yeah.
Sometimes I catch myself scrolling through social media, feeling envious of everyone else's seemingly perfect lives
Oh, yeah.
while neglecting the real relationships right in front of me.
Yeah.
It's like we're so busy documenting our lives that we forget to actually live them.
It's a classic case of FOMO, fear of missing out,
Yeah.
fueled by those carefully curated online personas.
Yeah, for sure.
But the irony is the more we chase those virtual connections,
Right.
the more disconnected we feel
Wow.
from ourselves and the people who matter most.
So how do we break free from this cycle?
That's a good question.
How do we cultivate real-world connections
Yeah.
in a world that's increasingly virtual?
Well, it starts with recognizing that we have a choice.
Okay.
We can choose to prioritize face-to-face interactions.
Right.
We can choose to put down our phones
Uh-huh.
and engage in activities that bring us joy
Yeah.
and connect us with others in a meaningful way.
So things like having dinner with friends,
Yeah.
going for a walk in nature,
Yeah.
attending a concert, or volunteering in our communities.
Exactly. These are the experiences that nourish our souls
Yeah,
and create lasting memories.
I like that.
And they don't require a Wi-Fi connection.
I think what's really striking about what you're saying is this. It's not about demonizing technology.
Right.
It's about using it intentionally.
Exactly.
It's about recognizing that technology should enhance our lives,
Yeah.
not control them.
That's a great way to put it.
Yes.
Technology can be an incredible tool
Right.
for connection and communication,
Yeah.
but it's up to us to use it in a way
Uh-huh.
that serves our well-being,
Mm-hmm.
not detracts from it.
And that brings us to another important point.
Okay.
The impact of this hyper-connected world on our mental health.
Yeah.
We talked about the rise in depression and anxiety among young people.
Uh-huh.
But what about adults?
Well, adults are certainly not immune
Right.
to the negative effects of technology overuse.
Okay.
Studies have shown that excessive screen time can
Right.
lead to sleep disturbances, increased stress,
Wow.
and even attention problems in adults.
It's like our brains are constantly on high alert,
Yeah.
bombarded with notifications and information overload.
Mm-hmm.
We're losing the ability to relax,
Mm-hmm.
to disconnect, to just be.
That's a great observation.
Thanks.
And this constant state of hyperarousal
Right.
takes a toll on our mental and physical health.
Oh.
It's important to remember that our brains need downtime to rest and recharge.
So that digital Sabbath we talked about earlier is even more crucial than I realized.
It is.
It's not just about taking a break from technology. It's about giving our brains a chance
Yeah,
to reset and recover.
exactly.
Yeah,
Think of it as a mental detox.
I like it.
And it doesn't have to be a whole day.
Right.
Even just an hour or two of unplugged time
Yeah.
can make a world of difference.
You know, one thing that really worries me
Okay.
is the impact of social media
Yeah.
on our ability to empathize with others.
Uh-huh.
It seems like we're becoming more polarized,
Right.
more divided,
Mhm.
more quick to judge and dismiss
Yeah.
those who hold different views.
That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
Social media can create echo chambers.
Right.
Where we're only exposed to information
Uh,
that confirms our existing beliefs.
right.
And this can lead to a lack of understanding and empathy for
Right.
those who see the world differently.
It's like we're all trapped in our own little bubbles,
Yeah.
shouting at each other from behind our screens.
Uh-huh.
But no one is really listening.
And this lack of empathy
Right.
is making it easier for misinformation to spread
Yeah.
and for divisions to deepen.
Yeah, for sure.
We're quick to demonize those who disagree with us,
Mm-hmm.
to see them as the enemy.
So how do we combat this?
That's the question.
How do we break out of our echo chambers
Yeah.
and rebuild those bridges of understanding?
Well, it starts with recognizing that
Yeah.
everyone has a story.
Okay.
Everyone has their own experiences, beliefs, and perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to try to understand those perspectives,
Right.
even if we don't agree with them.
So instead of just reacting to every post that triggers us,
Yeah.
we need to take a step back and ask ourselves,
Exactly.
why does this person believe what they believe?
Huh.
What are their experiences that have shaped their worldview?
Exactly. It's about approaching conversations with curiosity and a willingness to listen.
Right.
And it's about remembering that we're all human beings.
Yeah.
Regardless of our political affiliations, religious beliefs,
Right.
or any other label that might divide us.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We need to rediscover our shared humanity and find ways to connect on a deeper level.
I agree.
But it's hard to stay positive.
It is.
When you see so much negativity and division in the world, both online and offline, it's easy to feel hopeless and overwhelmed.
I understand. It can feel like a daunting task.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important to remember that there is still so much good in the world.
That's true.
There are people who are working tirelessly to make a difference, to build bridges, to spread kindness.
Right.
And we can choose to be a part of that movement.
I love that.
Yeah.
So instead of just scrolling through our feeds, feeling helpless and overwhelmed, we can use our voices and our platforms to amplify the voices of hope and healing.
That's a great idea.
We can use technology to connect with like-minded people, to support causes we care about, to make a difference in our communities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have the power to shape the digital landscape,
Right.
to create a more compassionate and connected world.
That's a beautiful vision.
It is.
And I think it's really empowering to remember that we're not just passive consumers of technology.
Right.
We can be active creators, shaping the world we want to live in.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it all starts with making conscious choices.
Right.
With using technology in a way that aligns with our values.
So the next time you reach for your phone, ask yourself, how can I use this to make a positive impact? How can I connect with others in a meaningful way?
Yeah.
How can I spread kindness and compassion?
Those are great questions.
Thanks.
And remember, even small actions can have a ripple effect.
Okay.
A kind word, a thoughtful gesture, a moment of genuine connection. These things can make a world of difference.
It's like the butterfly effect.
Oh.
A small flap of butterfly's wings can create a hurricane on the other side of the world.
That's right.
Similarly, our small acts of kindness and connection can have a profound impact on the world around us.
That's a beautiful analogy.
Thanks.
And it's so true.
It is.
We all have the power to make a difference.
This has been such an inspiring conversation.
It has.
I'm feeling more hopeful and empowered to use technology in a way that serves me and the world around me.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
We're all learning and growing
Yeah.
as we navigate this digital landscape.
That's a great reminder.
Thanks.
We don't have to be perfect.
That's right.
We just have to be intentional.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about making small, consistent choices that align with our values.
So let's all commit to using technology in a way that promotes connection, compassion, and well-being. Let's create a digital world where we can all thrive.
That's a beautiful vision.
Thanks.
And I believe it's possible.
But we've covered so much ground today
We have.
in our exploration of how technology has shaped our minds and relationships.
It has been quite the deep dive.
And
We're not done yet.
Okay.
There's still one more fascinating piece to explore, the future of technology and what it holds for humanity.
Stay tuned, listeners.
Please do.
We'll be back in a moment to explore the incredible possibilities and potential pitfalls of this rapidly evolving technological landscape. We're back for the final part of our deep dive into this fascinating, and sometimes unsettling world of technology and its impact on our brains.
Yeah.
We talked about the downsides, explored ways to take back control, but now I'm curious, what does the future hold?
The million-dollar question.
Right.
If I had a crystal ball, I'd be a very rich person.
Okay, that.
But even without one.
Yeah. There are some fascinating trends emerging that are worth paying attention to.
I'm all ears.
Okay.
What's got you particularly excited or maybe a little bit nervous?
Well, artificial intelligence.
Right.
AI is the big one, no doubt about it.
It seems to be everywhere these days.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It's already woven into so many aspects of our lives, from those personalized recommendations you mentioned earlier to more complex things like medical diagnoses
Wow.
and even self-driving cars.
AI does feel like this massive force that's gaining momentum.
It is. It is.
I can see the potential benefits, but it's also kind of unnerving, isn't it?
It can be.
Like, where does human agency fit into a world increasingly run by algorithms?
That's the key question.
Yeah.
And one we need to be grappling with right now,
Right.
not down the line.
Okay.
We can't just be swept up by the tide of technological advancement
Right.
without considering the ethical implications.
Right. I see what you mean.
How do we ensure AI is used for good?
That it doesn't perpetuate existing biases.
Right.
And that it ultimately serves humanity,
Yeah.
not the other way around.
It feels like a huge responsibility,
It is.
not just for the people developing these technologies, but for all of us as users and citizens.
Yeah, for sure.
Do we have a say in all of this? Or is it already being decided for us in some Silicon Valley boardroom?
I believe we absolutely have a say.
Okay.
Good. It starts with awareness,
Okay.
understanding how these technologies work,
Right.
how they impact our lives, and then engaging in those crucial conversations about
Right.
what kind of future we want to create.
That's where I think deep dives like this one come in.
I agree.
Helping people connect the dots between the technology they use every day and the bigger picture impact on society.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The more informed we are,
Right.
the more empowered we are to make conscious choices
Yeah.
and demand accountability from those in power.
Okay, so AI is one big trend. What else should we have on our radar?
Well, closely tied to AI is the increasing personalization of technology.
Okay.
It's already happening, as we've discussed,
Right.
but it's only going to get more sophisticated.
Wow.
Imagine a world where your devices anticipate your needs before you even articulate them,
Wow.
curating experiences tailored to your unique preferences
Okay.
and even your emotional state.
That sounds both amazing and a little creepy.
Yeah, it can be.
On the one hand, who wouldn't want technology to make their life easier and more convenient?
Right.
But on the other hand, it raises questions about privacy and manipulation.
For sure.
If companies know us better than we know ourselves, where does that leave our free will?
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
And it's why we need to be vigilant about data privacy.
Okay.
Demanding transparency from companies about how they're collecting and using our information.
So it's about being proactive.
It is.
We need to have control over our digital footprints and the ability to opt out of systems that feel invasive.
That's right.
So it's not about rejecting these advancements outright,
No.
but rather engaging with them critically and setting boundaries.
Precisely.
Okay.
Technology isn't inherently good or bad.
Right.
It's a tool.
Right.
And how we wield it will determine its impact on our lives and the world around us.
This has been such a thought-provoking conversation.
Yeah, it has been.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface
We have.
of a very complex topic.
It is.
But if there's one key takeaway
Okay.
I hope our listeners walk away with,
Yeah.
what would it be?
I think it's this.
Yeah.
In a world increasingly shaped by technology, it's more important than ever
Yeah.
to cultivate our critical thinking skills,
Right.
to question assumptions, and to be mindful of how we engage with these powerful tools.
Okay.
We have agency, we have a voice,
Right.
and we have the power to shape the future we want to see.
That's a message I can get behind.
I like it.
So to all our listeners out there,
Yeah,
thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
it's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful. Maybe a little unsettling at times,
It can be.
but ultimately empowering.
I hope so.
Remember, the future isn't predetermined.
It isn't.
It's being written right now,
That's right.
and each of us has a role to play.
We do.
And on that note, we'll wrap up our exploration of how technology has broken our brains,
Okay.
or maybe how we can prevent it from breaking them altogether.
It's up to us.
Be mindful, be curious,
Yeah.
and be the change you want to see in the digital world.
That's a perfect way to end it.
Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure having you.
And to all our listeners, until next time, stay curious.